Dudley, you've been fooling with these oysters for a long time and have learned a lot about strike here on shells. And you do a lot of outreach now to museums and all. Why do you do that? It takes a lot of your time.
Yeah, it does, but I meet a lot of interesting people and some good-looking ladies. That might have something to do with it. But yeah, it really does. I'm connected with the Reedville Fishermen's Museum, and I'm on their education committee. And they're interested, and they want to know, what goes on with the oysters. And I got doing this experiment, and you're never too old to learn. And I've learned a lot, and I've had a chance to talk with a lot of people who have practical experience, and I've talked with people who are scientific-minded and all that. So the more I do it, the more I learn. And the best group that I work with is young children. And old Art Linkletter will say, kids say the darndest things. Well, I'll tell you what, they'll keep you on your toes. But yes, I've spoken at like at the museum. I do a thing there. Tidewater Oyster Gardens, Toga. They asked me to speak one time, and so they came around another year and said, could I do it again? I said, yeah, I think so. And they said, well, I mean, you made it all right, didn't you? I said, oh, yeah, I got a standing ovation. Oh, you did? I said, yeah, I was the last one to speak. Everybody stood up and gave me a hand. And anyway, I've collected over the years doing that. Now, I didn't make this chart, but this was forwarded to me, I think, from VIMS. And this starts out in 1880 and goes on up, well, to 2000, let's say. And it shows
hold that up towards your chest there, Dudley,
yeah, okay.
so that camera can see that. But
shows the production of oysters over the years, and started over here, it was 1880, way before my time, and it kept zigzagging up and down. Well, if you come on up to a more recent time, and this is from 1950 to present time, let's say. So anyway, if you go right along about here, 1956, that's when I got out of high school and I became a full-time waterman. We've had a lot of ups and downs, but I'm sorry to say there's more downs than it is up. And so it doesn't take a whole lot of time or energy to figure out some things. We had to have some equipment, and this one is an aerial photograph of where
hold that up just a little bit higher, Dudley.
Where our oyster lease is. And as you can see, there's a long point of land out there, and that was in the mid-80s. And then this next photograph down here, and I think it's a satellite image, that sand point is almost gone. And that is in 1994. And then the most recent one I have is right here. Can you see that? Anyway, the sand point is gone. The sand flats are spreading out. They have covered up many acres of our oyster ground. So that's one loss that the oyster business has had. I'm sorry to say that a lot of press releases and articles written about the oyster business, they're like on the David Letterman show, they have the top 10 list, and always top on the list is over-harvesting, and it makes the waterman, it really puts him in a bad light. And well, we were private oyster planters. Over-harvesting wasn't going to get us anywhere. And there were big oyster planters all up and down this bay. But the fact is, when the oysters started disappearing in the 60s for whatever reason, and really nobody's figured it out, as I've said in the past, the good, bad, and the ugly, they all fared the same. It didn't make any difference whether you were maybe over-harvesting or whether you were practicing good agricultural practices. When the oysters went down and disappeared, everybody's oysters went. Not just the bad guys, but everybody's.
Do you find, do you tell that story to children when you're at these museums and all?
Oh yeah, yeah. They they're like fourth graders. After you get past fifth grade, they get too wise, man. I have to leave them alone. And
Oh, are you smarter than a fifth grader?
that's right. That's it. They, I happened to do it one summer, but it was on Menhaden. And I'm sure this young lady had been watching TV and listened to what her parents would say or something. And she said, have the Menhaden been overfished? And at this time I was a little younger. I said, well, I've been hanging around for about 60 years. I've been in the business and out the business and one thing and another. And I said, I guess when I was growing up, the first thing I smelled in the morning was fish factory. And I could still smell it. I said, the fish have had the good years and the bad years, but until you go out and see what is there, until you can go out and see the fish in the water firsthand, the oysters on the bottom as they come and go, you really don't understand what is out there. There's a great resource. Right now, the oyster resource, Mother Nature needs a little bit of help. There's a lot of things that a lot of people can do, and a lot of it is nothing world but pure pollution. If you get that under control, things will come back. Over the past 10 years, on this experiment I've been doing, I've found out that things are definitely on the upswing. We've gone from a time when late spring and say early summer, all of a sudden 80% of your orchards would just give up and die. And that hadn't happened in the last 5 years. So I think we're heading in the right direction. And yes, I tell that, if you can go tell that to the young people and just to the public in general, and it puts a different perspective on what us watermen do.
Well, do you think that increase has come, I don't think it's come because the water's gotten cleaner. It's probably come because the oyster's gotten more resistant?
That could be, I think so. And of course what it's coming to is going to be these hybrid oysters. I mean, this experiment I've been doing, creating oyster spat with these cages, and that's an improvement. That's a way to get spat and get more spat. But still, you've got the natural oyster, where the natural oyster used to be able to reproduce and be market size, say much as at least 3 years, 3 to 5 years. Now you can't raise a market size oyster in 5 years. The hybrid oyster, which is much faster growing, and if you can do that through a spat-on shell program, then you start producing an oyster, say, in 15 to 18 months. The die-off period on a natural oyster is around 3 years. If they make it through that third summer, they're more than likely going to become a market-sized oyster at some time.
If there's any one thing you want people to know, what would that be?
I think it's called "You're the Solution to Water Pollution."
That sounds like a good
like
one.
That.
Yeah.
And I think I got caught on camera a few years ago. I didn't realize I'd done it, and the lady filmed it said, "Say that again." And I said, "What is it?" And she said, "It's everybody's job. You know, not just the waterman, not just this person or that person. It's going to be everybody. When everybody gets together and thinks, and there's a lot of things that can be done." And I saw a slogan some time back that said, no one can do everything, but everyone can do something.
That sounds good.
Yeah.